Hi. Greetings from the Great Sage. Before we start, please subscribe and hit the notification bell icon and don't miss any contents. This is the light novel of that time I got reincarnated as a slime. If you haven't watched the previous Tensura arc, I will leave the playlist in the description box or you can click here. Let's start. This is Tensura Light Novel Volume 16. Tensura Light Novel, Volume 16. The End of the Game. Prologue. The Disintegration of Order. Part 1. There was order in the other world. It is a semi-material world that exists on top of the spiritual world so as to overlap the spirit world and the demon world. A world that never intersects. There were three major forces competing for supremacy. The phantoms, who plot to invade other worlds. The insectors, who seek to expand their safe haven. And the cryptids, who spend all of their time fighting and destroying. There were also forces that came from other dimensions, but they were all destroyed by one of these three forces. To that extent, these three forces boasted unparalleled military prowess. Two of the races, the phantoms and the insectors, would form a class society with the king at the top. Subordinate beings did not even have free will, but were merely pawns loyal to orders. The cryptids, on the other hand, are different. They are a semi-mental organism, but their development is as close to that of a mental organism as possible. They may be born by splitting from their parents, but most of them were special individuals that were born naturally from magicules. Although there is a difference between insects and beasts, they have characteristics similar to the ruling class of insectors. However, they do not swarm, and each of them possesses a powerful fighting ability. Although they lack intelligence, they are cunning and very belligerent. Naturally, there was no cooperation, and each of them acted to expand their own dominant territory. Therefore, even among the cryptids, battles were being fought. Since the three forces were as such, there was no way they could live together harmoniously in the other world. The phantoms and the insectors have been fighting for eternity. However, they only called a truce whenever the cryptids broke out in large numbers and fought together to destroy them. That is why they are always seeking a safe haven. They are always looking to the outside world, planning to invade. But that was not easy, of course. Even with a lifespan longer than that of a human being and a body that cannot be killed by illness or injury, that long-cherished dream has yet to be achieved. In the first place, there was the fact that the passage to invade another world was not easily discovered. Only in the event of a special catastrophe such as a space-time oscillation, which occurs only once in 1,000 years, do rifts in space-time open up for a short time. It was impossible to dispatch a large army in this situation. The best they could do was to send in advance troops and let them establish a base. However, there were exceptions to this rule. The rifts that connected time and space were anchored to the world and served as gates. Those were what was called the underworld gate or the gate of hell. Using this gate, it would be easy to escape from the other world. However, because that gate was under the control of demons, aggressors, the invading races, were not allowed to use it. That is why the aggressors were eagerly watching vigilantly to take it away. In spite of this situation, a balance was well maintained. However, there was one being who was not happy with this. That being was always hateful. His name was Feldway, the Phantom King. Through the perpetual repetition of the three-way relationship, that hatred burned more fiercely and became a hellfire that burned the world. Feldway remembers. Veldanava had given birth to many races. In addition to that, there was a will to sustain the world. Feldway, of all people, was one of the first. An angel without a will, created to assist Veldanava in his work. The seven seraphim, the highest level of this group, possessed an amount of energy that transcended even an awakened demon lord. Such beings were given names by Veldanava and became beings comparable to gods, called the seven angels of the origin. The first of the seven was Feldway, who later became the founder of the phantom race. Having been given a name and a will, Feldway swore allegiance to Veldanava. And so he led the angels and spent many years as his assistant. New races were born one after another. The Mad King of the Giants, the incarnation of the earth. The Queen of the Pixie race, the administrator of the stars. The ancestors of the vampire race to build a civilization on earth and make it prosperous. From spiritual life forms to semi-spiritual life forms to physical bloodlines. Eternity was lost, but diversity grew in color. And finally, humanity was born, interlocked in parallel worlds of other dimensions. Perfect fertility, adaptability to the environment. They had a unique ego and a curiosity that challenged the mysteries of the world. Veldanava rejoiced. He had come to love this fragile race more than anything else. Veldanava decided to remove the threat from the world for the sake of humanity. Feldway was also ordered to subdue various demons with his own hands. However, the last remaining individual was troublesome. It was Ivorage, the world-destroying dragon who would later become the king of the cryptids. We do not know where Ivorage came from. In fact, it was unknown where it originated. It could be from the far reaches of space, or even at the edge of another dimension. The only thing that was known for sure was that it was the incarnation of disaster. It had power rivaling that of a true dragon, but it was unable to communicate due to its lack of intelligence. Moreover, because of its destructive instincts, it had the potential to bring about the eventual destruction of the world. It was such a threat that even Feldway could not defeat it one-on-one. In the end, Veldanava, unable to bear witness to the fierce struggle, took action, and Ivorage was sealed away in the otherworld. Feldway was assigned to watch over him. Naturally, Feldway advised him to kill Ivorage so as not to leave a bad taste in his mouth. "It's dangerous," he said. But this was rejected by Veldanava. Veldanava dismissed the idea, saying that there was a possibility that Ivorage would develop intelligence. As a result, the otherworld was filled with magicules leaking out from Ivorage, and a new race of cryptids was derived. The cryptid race, which could only be considered a degraded version of Ivorage, spent all of their time fighting with their fighting instincts. They did not need water or food, and did not fear their own death. Truly a failure of God's own making. Even to Feldway, a devotee of Veldanava, they seemed like nothing beings meant to be spurned. From then on, he spent his days eliminating the occasional cryptid that went out of control. Eventually, a change occurred. As if to prove Veldanava's words, an intelligent and willful being was born from the cryptid race. That being would be the ancestor of heresy. To Feldway's dismay, Veldanava was delighted by the event. He gave the being the name Zelanis. It was the birth of Zelanis, the insect lord. Zelanis was not commanded by Veldanava, but he began to exterminate the cryptids that had run amok. This was due to his natural fighting instincts, but Veldanava tolerated it. Eventually, Zelanis created insectors to serve as his hands and feet. Eventually, they grew to form a faction. Feldway had also been transformed. He was no longer a seraph because of the magicule he had been exposed to over the years. The angels that Feldway had led had also been transformed into a new race. Feldway was not the only one of the 7 primordial angels who had come to this other world from the heavens where Veldanava lived. 3 of them remained with Veldanava, and 3 others, Zelario, Abera and Cornu, followed Feldway and helped him manage the other world. These 4 pillars, including Feldway, had mutated and evolved into a race called the Jotun. The remaining angels were also transformed and became self-aware. That is, the monsters of human form, the phantom race. A new race was born, one that was not in conflict with demons and spirits. Thus, a new relationship was constructed over a long period of time. Feldway and Zelanis did not see eye to eye, but they both found each other useful in dealing with the cryptids. That is why they tacitly agreed not to interfere with each other, and a symbiotic relationship of mutual non-interference was established. However, this relationship was shattered with the disappearance of Veldanava. At first, it was thought that the relationship would eventually be restored. However, even after several hundred years, there was no sign of Veldanava's return. Feldway wondered why. Then, a thought occurred to him. Could it be that Veldanava has abandoned us? Otherwise, there was no explanation for the fact that the supposedly immortal true dragon had not returned. If he was right, Feldway grieved and hated. Humans on Earth. No, not just humans. Not just humans, but elves, dwarves, beastmen, and even Magin. He hated all demihumans, that is to say, all of humanity. So he wanted to destroy them. The people who took Veldanava from us don't deserve to live. He would unite the world Veldanava had created with his own hands. And then he would condemn those who have committed the greatest crimes. That was Feldway's conclusion. He would take the world favored by the god Veldanava and dye it into his own color. He would destroy its diversity in order to create a world of his own. Lord Veldanava. If you want to punish me, then punish me. That is what I want. Now, hurry or there will be no more worlds. As if to test the gods, Phantom King Feldway began to act. It was the birth of the demons, the antagonists of mankind. First, Feldway approached Zelanis. The idea was to work together to destroy the cryptids and to use the momentum to invade the earth. However, no. There is only one person in the world who can command me. Now that he is gone, we will do as we please. He simply refused to listen. Hearing this, Feldway was furious. It was not that he was rejected. Feldway could not stand Zelanis's attitude that accepted that Veldanava had been destroyed. Then I will get rid of you first. He turned his anger on the insector. If Feldway and Zelanis had joined forces at that time, the cryptids might have perished, along with the world-destroying dragon Ivorage. But that would be an unattainable dream. The phantoms and the insectors began to fight each other, and the age of war, in the truest sense of the word, had arrived. And so, the other world became chaotic, and a 3-way relationship began. That's all for today, hope you guys enjoy this video. Please check my other YouTube videos. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe and hit the notification icon, and don't miss any updates.